long history in her own life, spending time in our military. Her name is Diane Diekman. Make her welcome right now. And we're going to visit with Diane just a little bit about some of the books that she has. Yeah. Now, you grew up in
Clear Lake.
Clear Lake. How many people know where Clear Lake is? Clear Lake, South Dakota. Yeah. It's right south of Tonerville. Yeah. And also there's a little town called Altamont right over there.
East of Watertown.
Yeah, east of Watertown, about 20-some miles. And you wrote a book about some of your childhood memories, I believe.
That I did. I wrote about growing up on a farm in the Highwood Valley in 1963, so it talks about butchering chickens and slinging hay bales into the barn and picking rocks and going to a one-room country school, and it talks about when President Kennedy got assassinated.
Really? And about picking rocks. You know, that's one thing. How many people have ever picked rocks? Yeah. You know, you can go out in your field and pick rocks so that you can go out there and till it and farm it. Next year, you got to go pick some more.
That's
they
right.
never, hey, you know, do you ever come across, I remember when I was a little kid, we used to come across what we called land shells. They were actually, wherever we were at was in an ancient pond at one time. Okay, so we picked rocks. What was the most difficult thing you did in your growing up days? Picking rocks?
I don't know. We just did a lot of work. I know we sometimes pulled cockleburs, but that was usually punishment when we did something wrong, so we had to go out and pull cockleburs.
You know, I remember when I lived in Osceola and some little towns along there. My dad worked for the railroad, and he would we'd have a house that we'd live in alongside the railroad track, and that they provided for us, and then he would actually garden about 2-3 acres of the railroad right away, and had a lot of potato bugs, and they'd give us a penny. He'd give I think a pint jar and a penny a jar for filling it with potato bugs. I was only 4 years old, and the rest of the kids in the family were 8, 9, 10, or 12 or whatever, so I was just about the size of a potato plant, and I could get them a lot quicker than the rest of them could. So I did pretty good on penny a jar. Did you ever pick potato bugs?
No, we did not.
Didn't have that.
No.
Okay. So, well, that's a good, interesting book. Let me show it here to everybody. It's called A Farm in the Highwood. All right. Let me hear about your next book there.
Navy green shirt. I wrote this about 18 years of my career as an aircraft maintenance officer in the Navy. It goes from the time I went to maintenance officer school until I got promoted to captain. So it talks about what life is like in the peacetime Navy and how the culture changed over the years, from we used to go out drinking during happy hour and until the time when it was poor judgment to drink and drive, and a lot of things changed over the years.
You did some drinking. I can't believe it, Diane.
But I tried not to drive when I drank.
Oh, that's better than trying to drive when you do. How many Navy people do we have out here? Any Navy people? Yeah. Yeah. Let's have a nice round of applause for Diane just for her military service. Okay. And then we ain't done yet. You got 2 more books. One about Fair and Young.
Live Fast, Love Hard, the Fair and Young story. I started this in 1999. I was over in Japan when Farron committed suicide, and I didn't want him to be forgotten, and I thought, well, that would be great. When I retired from the Navy, I wanted to write books anyway, and I thought, if I write about Fair and Young, then I'll get to talk to all these country singers that I grew up listening to. So, but I didn't know anything about writing a book. I didn't know anybody in the publishing business. I didn't know anybody in the music business. So I just picked a date. I thought, well, 2007, that should be far enough down the road that I can figure out how to write a book and get one written. And it happened. We published it in 2007.
Well, this is a fantastic, plus that's got a lot of real interesting pictures. If you like country music, a lot of pictures, vintage pictures of the days when country music was actually country music. And believe me, were just wonderful days when entertainers came out on stage and sang their songs. They didn't depend on $1 million worth of lights to project on them. and with a big show like that, they just came out and entertained you. And there were a lot of wonderful pictures about Farron Young. And he had so many. How many hits did he have? How many charted hits? You know?
I think it was in the 90s. He had 5 #1 billboards, but he had a lot of songs.
He sure did. And we toured with him and did quite a few shows with him. And some interesting stories I could tell about him too, because he was quite an interesting fellow.
Everybody who knew Farron had stories to tell about him.
One time we're down in Kansas City doing the show, and Farron had this song called "Love This Little Girl of Mine," and he'd bring a little girl out of the crowd and have her sit on his knee. Nowadays you probably couldn't get away with doing that, but and he'd sing this song to her, and then he'd take out a big roll of money, and he'd say, "Okay, I'm going to peel these bills back. There's one of every denomination, and I'm going to, or every denomination. Did I say that? Anyway, one of every. What is the word I'm looking for? Denomination. Okay. Anyway, he had $100 bills and dollar bills and 50s and all that, and he's peeling them back, and she isn't saying nothing. Finally, he says, "Aren't you going to pick one?" He says, "The next one after you say stop will be yours. Aren't you going to stop me?" She said, "You know what?" He says, "What?" "You smell just like my Uncle Charlie." And he probably did. Well, this is a book here about Marty Robbins, and it's called A 20th Century Drifter, and you won an award for this.
I did. The Belmont University in Nashville, they have an annual Best Country Music Book of the Year, and they gave me the award for Marty's biography in 2012.
Wow, and you got more pictures in this one too, I believe. Yeah, a lot of them of Marty Robbins. How many Marty Robbins fans do we have here? Wasn't he a great singer? Probably one of the most beautiful voices ever recorded in any field of music. And so if you would like, during the intermission, you can stop down here, look at her books, and I tell you, they're great books, interesting. She'd be happy to autograph them for you. Let's have a nice round of applause for Diane Diekman, ladies and gentlemen. And now,